And people are stuck up in the traffic. We are sorry that lift is also not working properly, and thereby we are starting little late. Within 5 minutes we are going to start the program. People are in the queue for the lift. They are coming by the staircase. Kindly bear with us. Thank you. the third oration program of Comrade H.L. Parwana. This is third one after the two program last 2 years. We all gathered to listen over here. Our Honorable Justice K. Chandru. I first of all request our Managing Trustee, who is associated with the H.L. Parwana Memorial Trust, and on behalf of all the trustees and Parwana Trust, I request Comrade D.S. Buche to kindly come on the dais and take his seat. Comrade D.S. Buche. Give him the big hands. Amongst us, traveled all the way from the Chennai and our beloved leader, who's one of the instrumental to get the second option for pension for the bank employees and officers, and number of bipartite settlement wage revision he has got for the bank employees and officers. Comrade C.H. Venkatachalam to kindly come on the dais. I also request Comrade C.H.V. to kindly escort Comrade Chandru, Justice Honorable Chandru, Madras High Court, to kindly come on the dais. Kindly escort him. Give him the big hands. Honorable Justice Chandru, who has also traveled all the way from the Bangalore to deliver his lecture on the Parwana Oration 2025. Kindly take the seats. With this, I request our leader of Eastern Maharashtra Bank Employees Association and All India President of the Bank of India Staff Association, General Secretary of Eastern Maharashtra Bank Employees Association, our beloved leader, Comrade Bobate, Suresh Bobate. Give him big hands. Amongst us from the Electricity Workers Federation, one of the towering leader of the Electricity Board, all the 4 Electricity Board, very senior veteran leader, Mohan Sharma, one of our trustee and senior leader. Comrade Mohan Sharma, give him big hands. Come on the dais and kindly take your seat. With this, I invite the former leader of Bank of Maharashtra and the director of Bank of Maharashtra, Comrade R.S. Nerkar, who is a leader of the Eastern Maharashtra Bank Employees Association also in those days. I request him to come on the dais and take his seat. Another trustee and my friend, Comrade B.N.J. Sharma, the former General Secretary of Eastern Maharashtra Bank Employees Association. He is also available, and I request him kindly come and take his seat on the dais. Comrade B.N.J. Sharma. All of us know you or know comrades. Comrade Jaivan Gurve, the chairman of Eastern Maharashtra Bank Employees Association, and a very dashing comrade of the Federation. I invite him to come on the dais and take his chair. Comrade Jaivan Gurve. I request Comrade Swayam Prakash Tiwari, the leader of Bank of Maharashtra and president of Eastern Maharashtra Bank Employees Association, to kindly come on the dais and take his seat. Thank you, Comrade Tiwari. I request now Comrade D.S. Buche to kindly give the bouquet to Honorable Justice K. Chandru, Madras High Court. Comrade Buche. Give him big hands. Now I request Comrade Suresh Bobate to kindly give the flower bouquet to Comrade C.H. Venkatachalam. Thanks, Comrade. Now with this, I request Comrade D.S. Buche, our managing trustee, to kindly continue the proceedings.
Good evening and welcome to all of you. Now, simultaneously we start the program. We must remember that we have in our midst Your Honor K. Chandru, Madras High Court Justice retired. And of course, I know all of us are very eager to listen to him. But while we do that, it is the customary for our Parwana Memorial Trust to present memento to him on this August occasion, and then we start our proceedings. So now, first of all, I will request all the press photographers, if they have come. Now we are first of all doing that presentation of the memento. I'll request all the trustees to remain present while we give bouquet. Most of you must be aware that when we started the program 3 years before, we also made announcement that every year we will hold this annual program. Now, eminent national speaker we will have every time. First time we had Comrade D. Raja, General Secretary of CPI. Then last year we had Advocate Prashant Bhushan, who needs no introduction. These are, we are fortunate enough that we have in our midst a very high judiciary personality, and we are very proud of him. Now, at the time we start the proceedings, let me also tell you that as per decision of the Board of Trustees, we will present a check of 1 lakh rupee, that is the oration amount, to our guest speaker. I request Comrade Venkatachalam to present him our 1 lakh rupee purse. Honorable Justice K. Chandru, your leader, my leader, our trustee, and the tallest leader of the bank employees in the country, General Secretary of the Bank Employees Association, and above all, in our opinion, our trustee, Comrade C.H. Venkatachalam, all my fellow trustees, and friends and comrades. Now, in fact, as I said earlier, we are very eager to listen to the speech of the speaker, the main guest. But certainly, destiny will not forgive us. At least, Comrade Parwana will not forgive me if we do not tell you about the life of Parwana, about the project of Parwana, this A.B. Bardhan Auditorium, and perhaps the Oration program that we have been continuing for last 3 years as a part of our trade union education. So while I do that, I will request Comrade Gurve to distribute the pamphlets. We have prepared, because instead of taxing you, I will not say boring you. I don't propose to tax you. We have a brief description of all that I said is being distributed to you, and you can read it later. Only a word more I will add. Our honorable guest, Justice Chandru, he is an authority on the Constitution of India. He has given landmark judgments. His number of judgments he delivered crosses 95,000, perhaps 4 or 5,000, less than a lakh. He is also an eminent writer. He has written many a book on burning issues. And the subject we have today, rather he has allotted to us, is a burning topic, is a matter of discussion in every nook and corner of the country. So therefore, he will speak on that subject and give us his enlightened address. But before that is done, only I have a couple of things to make. That we have in our midst certain high dignitaries. We have retired Justice Ravindra Chauhan, Nagpur High Court, Maharashtra. He is here. We are very happy with him. Ramkumar, felicitate karo. So we are felicitating certain high dignitaries who are amongst us. First is, as I said, Justice R.C. Chauhan. Now, let me tell you that many of you know me, that I am from Reserve Bank. And Justice Chauhan sir also was with me in the Reserve Bank. And when we collected donations for construction of this project, Chauhan sir is one who gave his donation for this project. And let us give long applause to him. One more member of the judiciary, you all know, Justice Vijay Daga. In fact, he was to join us, but this evening I got his call from Mumbai that he missed his flight and now coming in the night flight. But you also know about Justice Vijay Daga. He was an employee of the central bank, and he is one amongst us. He fought out many cases. So he has asked me to convey to all of you his greetings and also best wishes for this function. So we are thankful to Justice Vijay Daga. Now, at the time of inauguration, we felicitated many a individual, many a dignitary who helped us in this process. But unfortunately, that point of time, many could not come for variety of reasons. The important being, one Mr. Pradyumna Sahasrabhojani, architect. In fact, the whole Sahasrabhojani family is the architect family. And they all planned this project, they all planned this hall, and this magnificent, beautiful hall has been planned by Mr. Pradyumna Sahasrabhojani. So he could not come that day. Let us felicitate him. I'll request Ramkumar. Similarly, on the last occasion, our standing council of the trust, and who has been very helpful to us all these years in fighting out the cases, right since 3-4 decades, Advocate Nitin Khamborkar is also amongst us. So I will request Comrade Mohan Sharma to felicitate Comrade Advocate Nitin Khamborkar. Mohan Sharma. बोपाटी साहेब तुमचं नाव घेतो आता फेलिसिटेट करू नंतर आता नेक्स्ट जा जा सब Welcome, sir. Please come. Sir, Anand, sir. Now we have another dignitary, you know, our Parwana's chartered accountants, Mr. Ravi Khemuka was our chartered accountants for decades. His son, Vivek Khemuka, and his better half have come. We are very happy. On inauguration day, they could not come. So I will request Comrade Suresh Bobhate to garland our chartered accountants. अब CHO को बोलना है, इनको फेलिसिटेट करें. CHO को बोलेंगे इनको. सब बोल के लिए. And some more dignitaries are expected to come. A few dignitaries we did welcome at the time of inauguration. So, but I'm very happy and very delighted to inform you that just now the most important dignitary and the chief of this hospital, Mr. Anand Sanjeti, has joined us. So I'm really indeed very happy. I'll request him to come on the dais, and Mr. C.H. Venkatachalam will present him bouquet and shawl. In fact, for the construction of the hall, as I said, Sahasrabhojani architects and all those who helped us, but also, जिसको हिंदी में बोलते 4 चांद लगाए, the Kingsway Hospital, Khare Tarkunde and SMS, both put together. So credit goes to the builders, Messrs. Khare Tarkunde, the architect Sahasrabhojani, and SMS and Kingsway Hospital. Thank you, sir. Now, comrades, as I promised to you, that all of us have come to listen to the thought-provoking speech of our dignitary. And perhaps interference of others may not be tolerated, if not resisted. And I don't propose to invite any wrath of all of you, but will certainly like to add you that for the construction of this project, so many organizations, so many individuals, so many dignitaries have helped us. Of course, if you read our write-up which we gave, yeah, the write-up. So therefore, in that write-up, we have given about Comrade A.B. Bardhan. Perhaps had he not been there, you would not have seen the light of the day. But besides that, our past and present trustees, they also helped us a lot in having this auditorium. Mainly, the Comrade Prabhatkar, Tarkeshwar Chakravarti, they were our trustees. They need no introduction. Similarly, the AITUC, of which Parwana was the leader, Bardhan was the leader, so they also helped us in a big way. CPI, of which both were the office bearers, also gave us very good support, and therefore we must place on record all that they did. And our present trustees, let me tell you, today for want of time, they cannot come here, but behind one trustee, tens of hundreds, and for some people, tens of thousands of workers and employees are there. Now let me tell you, when this project was half completed, we were hesitating to occupy it. But our leader, Comrade C. Venkatachalam, who was then General Secretary of AIBEA also, he advised us to take the possession. And then he also has been giving from time to time very valuable assistance, guidance, and that is the reason we are standing where we are today. And definitely, although he is our trustee, and I did not heap a very good praise on him, but I do not know, had his advice not been there, what would have happened. And even further progress, which I may not repeat today for want of time, but he has certain plans in his head. Those plans will be implemented, and in a big way, this project goes. As I said, the main object of the trust is to impart trade union education. Oration is one of the parts of that program. We also afford give training programs. So in that way, help of C.H. Venkatachalam, the All India Bank Employees Association will be very, very useful. Now here this ground also has got very much importance and significance. Here in this open ground, that when railwaymen used to go on strike, V.V. Giri and other people used to come for secret parleys in that ADMA's office. So similarly, we have had here foundation conference of the All India Bank Officers Association. Now briefly, I will tell you about each one of our present trustees. Now Comrade Mohan Sharma, you all know, he is General Secretary of the All India Electricity Employees Federation, President of Maharashtra State Electricity Workers Federation, and is a big leader. Behind him, tens of thousands of people are standing. If he gives call, we may not get electricity tomorrow. Similarly, everywhere, now this Comrade Suresh Bobate, he is not only General Secretary of the Eastern Maharashtra Bank Employees Association, our trustee, General Secretary of All India Bank of India Employees Association in Nagpur, Vidarbha region, but he is President of All India Bank of India Staff Union, and behind him, we call him crowd puller. He gives a call and people come. Similarly, we have Ram Nerkar, Workman Director, he was in Bank of Maharashtra and leader of the Bank of Maharashtra employees. Then we have Comrade B.N.J. Sharma and Ram Kumar Gupta. In fact, they took the organization in flying colors. Perhaps had they not worked, I don't know whether this project would have been completed or not. Similarly, Comrade Tiwari, he has recently joined, is the president of the association. So they're all not only useful, we are thankful to all our leaders, I said, Comrade Mohan Sharma, Mohan Naidu, Ratinath Mishra, and all these people. They have really helped us in building this. Now, before I conclude, it is customary to give introduction of the chief guest. That I will leave it to Comrade C.H. Venkatachalam, who has been kind enough to arrange such a nice speaker for us, and he's the authority on the constitution. So he will definitely give his sitting, but one thing I will only request you, you kindly listen to him. He has given landmark judgments. Perhaps I don't want to take your time in dealing with all these things. Venkatachalam will give perhaps a gist of it. जिसमें what we call in Hindi, सागर में गागर. So definitely he will give a brief introduction, and then our main speaker will speak. So with this, in this August house and for this August gathering, I thank all of you. I am very much delighted that all of you have come. Many could not come because of the traffic hazards. Many could not come because of other difficulties. Nowadays, banks are working up to 6 p.m. And now, let me tell you, one of the prime reasons for not coming by majority of the people, because this program is being webcast all over India, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari and Goa to Guwahati. And now all over the world. So therefore, some of our people who feel that while enjoying a cup of coffee, if not anything else, they can also listen to the speech. So therefore, they may not come. So with this, I request Comrade C. Venkatachalam to briefly introduce the chief guest, the main speaker, and also give his thoughts. Thank you, Comrade.
I understood why you were clapping. Comrade Buche, Managing Trustee, other trustees, our respected and beloved guest speaker today, Comrade K. Chandru, former Judge of Madras High Court, our special invitees, friends, comrades, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, Buche introduced all the people, but Comrade Buche is the managing trustee of the Parwana Memorial Trust. You are working in Reserve Bank of India, and he was an activist of the Reserve Bank Trade Union Movement. Then he was also interested politically, and it's very interesting to many of you that he contested the MLC election against Nitin Gadkari. Needless to say, he lost. But the point is that he was the only one who could retain deposits. Many others lost deposits, but he got deposit. That is his achievement. But most important is that he has been associated with this trust from the beginning, because he was one of the ardent admirers, followers, and disciples of Comrade Parwana. Comrade Parwana was very closely associated with the Eastern Maharashtra Bank Employees Association. In those days, he was stationed in Delhi. So in Punjab, at that time Haryana was not there. Punjab, Rajasthan, UP, that side, and Eastern Maharashtra, Comrade Parwana was frequently coming. And so he had influenced a lot of people like him. And so when he died, they rightly decided that we should have some memorial activity to remember Comrade Parwana, and that's how this place was purchased by the Eastern Maharashtra Bank Employees Association, and then it was given to the trust. And with a lot of difficulty, ultimately now we are in this wonderful building. And since then, as managing trustee, Comrade Buche has been managing the affair so well, and I would definitely request all of you to give a big hand to him, because he has been doing a lot of good work. And I'm very happy that this is the third oration. And to us in the banking industry, in the bank employees, in the All India Bank Employees Association, two leaders are so important to us. One is Comrade Prabhakar. He was the General Secretary of the All India Bank Employees Association, and for 2 terms he was also member of the Lok Sabha. And along with him, Comrade H.L. Parwana, both joined the banks. Today we adore them like great leaders. Comrade Prabhakar joined Lloyds Bank, and Comrade Parwana joined Punjab National Bank in Lahore. At that time it was part of India. And because they dedicated themselves not for their own career, not their own development, for the cause of others, and they were active in the union, rather they started the union, so they were victimized, and so they lost their jobs. And since then they have been fully involved in building up this All India Bank Employees Association. We are very proud today that our All India Bank Employees Association is one of the front-ranking middle-class trade union in this country. We are the largest trade union of the bank employees and among the middle-class employees. And they were the people who built up this organization. And so naturally in their memory we have a lot of activity. And this is very befitting in Nagpur. We have this Parwana Memorial, and of late we have also started this annual lecture. And particularly the teachings of Comrade Parwana are always very, very important to us, because whatever he was telling in those days as dangers, today we see they are knocking our doors. Only yesterday evening by this time I was shouting in the street of Chennai, don't bring this 100% FDI in insurance. This thing Comrade Parwana had told that this is what the government will do in the days to come unless you are careful. And now we are finding they want to privatize the bank, they want to privatize the insurance, they want to privatize electricity, everything they want to privatize. And these dangers are not only, retrograde from the point of view of the employees and the union, but for the country as a whole. Because India is still a developing country, we need a very vibrant, strong, dominant public sector, at least in this core sector, but still we find these are being targeted by the present government, monetization, privatization, liberalization. Even in banks, I don't know that on the one hand we are opposing privatization because it's not good. But we are finding already private banks are there. Even the private banks are being sold to foreign capital. We have a very small bank. I will take only just 5 minutes from you before we invite our guests to speak. We have a very small bank, Catholic Syrian Bank in Kerala. Many of you may not even know that bank. It's a very tiny bank, predominantly in Kerala. It's a community-based bank. Now that bank has become a Canada-based bank, because from Canada somebody has invested, he has taken over the bank. Similarly, we had a Lakshmi Vilas Bank in Tamil Nadu. It was headquartered in Tamil Nadu. The name itself is Lakshmi's Bank. That bank has now gone to Singapore. DBS Bank has taken over that bank. Like that we are finding here in Maharashtra. We have the Ratnakar Bank. It's also a very small bank from Maharashtra. But last month only from Dubai, National Bank of Dubai has invested 26,500 crores, huge money. And now they are the controlling investor in that bank. Now we know the Yes Bank. It's a new generation private bank, which was spoiled by Rana Kapoor. Now government has agreed and allowed SMBC Bank from Japan. They have invested huge money in that bank, and they are the major shareholders in that bank. Like that one by, even in Federal Bank, a Kerala-based bank from New York, now it has come. Like that we find not only privatizing the bank, foreignizing the banking industry, and we are worried, we are concerned because banks are dealing with your money. As of today, we find 225 lakh crores of money. People's money is in the bank. Not a single paisa belongs to the government. Money belongs to the people. And when we say people, it does not include people like Ambani, Adani, because they are big people. They don't keep money in the banks. I also searched in Google whether they have which bank they have the account. They don't have the account. They are only borrowers of the bank. So the ordinary people, poor people, they kept the money in the bank, 225 lakh crores. And so that's why as All India Bank Employees Association, we are concerned, safety for the people's money, guarantee for the people's money, utilization of this money for the welfare of the people. And that's why we are involved. fighting for ourselves is well known. Many people, you know that we go on strike, we demand and get things achieved. But more than that, we believe that this banking industry is so vital. And these were all the teachings of people like Prabhakar and Parwana. In fact, the banks were owned by Tatas and Birlas and Bajaj and all these people. And they raised a slogan, why this bank should be with them, they are not helping. So nationalize the banks. Because of the leadership of Comrade Prabhakar and Parwana, banks were nationalized, and today the banks are really contributing for the nation's economic prosperity, progress, development, etc. So today, in that background, it's very necessary that we remember them and convey to the people the teachings of these leaders. And that way, this lecture also is very, very useful to remember Comrade Parwana. And we are very happy that today, for this special lecture, we have Justice Chandru. Personally, I know him for the past more than 40 years, and he has been in Chennai only. And from law student and lawyer, then he came up, and he was with Ravan Reddy. Then later he became the judge. He has written a book, How He Has Become a Judge, because it's normally you should not have been made a judge, because he is not that. But still, because of his knowledge and experience, etc., he was appointed as a judge. And during his tenure as a judge of Madras High Court, it's really remarkable that he had delivered 96,000 judgments during his time. 96,000, such huge. Because today, we want justice, so we know justice available in the courts. But all of us know that it never comes. It goes on for years and years, and millions of cases are even today pending in the various courts. But still, he was very concerned, so he used to quickly dispose of. And two things, if somebody, God will appear before me, I want to give you two friends. Whom do you want? I will say, that's a different thing. I don't want two friends. One a lawyer, second a doctor. These two people I don't want, because I don't want to be in the courts. I don't want to be in the hospital. But here, I'm very happy Sanjay was here. They have been very helpful. Similarly, we are also highly benefited by the association of people like him. We are very proud that Justice retired Chauhanji is also here. So that has made all the difference. And he has been so humble, so simple. But all the time we have found that there has been a rebellion. He never accepted the system. He was always trying to create some benchmark, not only expediting the judgments, but creating really pro-people judgments, etc. In fact, all of us might be knowing the recent famous film, Jai Bhim. It's on a particular case. The judgment was delivered by Justice Chandru only. On that basis only, the Jai Bhim film has been taken. And it is very remarkable that he retired on a particular day, 5 o'clock. And the next minute, 5:05, he hand over the car to the government. He is all personal asset, everything. And as an ordinary person, he came out of the court, went to the normal, our cafe, had a coffee with the friends and people, and walked back home. So that is the level of simplicity of Justice Chandru. And he has been a well-wisher of the All India Bank Employees Association. Many times he used to say that we should be like AIBEA, because they don't come to the court, they fight in the road. That's why we always take it as a certification from him. And such a distinguished person has come today for delivering this lecture today. And I'm very sure that the subject that has been given to him, that why we need to defend democracy today, our constitution today, is very apt, because everything what is happening, we find even yesterday I have seen Manrega has become Ram, 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 now Jai Sri Ram yesterday. So naturally, the country is passing through a very critical time. I'm very sure that this lecture will be very informative, educative to us. So once again, I, on your behalf, have great pleasure in inviting Justice Chandru to kindly come and give his special oration today. Justice Chandru.
Yes, sir. So before we have very informative, educative and thought-provoking lecture from Your Honor, Justice Chandru. I'll say a word that I owe an apology to our comrade Gurve, that comrade Sharma overshadowed him and I could not notice him. In fact, what all arrangements are made and in the trust, whatever he is doing, I mean, he is de facto managing trustee, I can call him, and he was the general secretary of the Eastern Maharashtra Bank Employees Association for so many years. So, and behind him, he not only shouts slogans, but behind him there are armies of employees and members. So I acknowledge, gratefully acknowledge, and so also Mr. Swayam Prakash Tiwari, who has recently joined us. He is the president of the Eastern Maharashtra Bank Employees Association. And with this, I hand you over this mic to Your Honor.
Dear friends and comrades, greetings to all of you on this occasion of Comrade Parwana oration. The second oration, I know the first one was done by Prasant Bhushan. The oration which has been instituted in the name of Comrade Parwana, who is known for his trade union leadership and the growth of the Bank Employees Union. In that sense, first, our contribution or our gratefulness will go to Comrade Parwana. This oration, when we started this oration, the first question that comes to our knowledge, in fact, Comrade Venkatachalam gave the topic, why should we defend the Constitution at this hour? Is that question? The question itself poses the answer. You and me will not be sitting here if this Constitution is not there. Therefore, that's the first thing, that we should defend this Constitution so that we have a meeting at least to discuss certain public issues. When I started for this meeting, one of my old friend who was a professor, he put a poster in the Facebook. This topic is very important. Not only the title, even the place. I was very surprised because this place is always associated with RSS, not with the working class movement, not with the Ambedkar movement. Therefore, I sent a reply that Nagpur has got three distinct way of thought. One may be the RSS school, we are not concerned with that. There is also the school of the Marxwadis. There is also the school of Ambedkarwadi, also relates to Nagpur. Therefore, Nagpur doesn't mean only one set of ideas. In fact, the first strike in 1872 in Empress Mill took place in Nagpur for a wage increase. And therefore, Nagpur has got much more attachment to the working class movement, and we need not confuse ourselves with other issues. And when our Prime Minister celebrated the centenary of RSS and also released a stamp and a coin, he made a point. He said that this movement has contributed to the growth of the Indian freedom struggle. Number of its cadres have sacrificed their lives. First of all, that statement has to be taken with a pinch of salt, because the next day, many people raised the issue, will our Prime Minister name one person who comes from the movement, who also fought for the freedom of this country? This is one question. On the other hand, there is another movement which is also centenary old, in fact much older than RSS, is the communist movement, which is started in 1921. Hundreds of its cadres have gone to jail. Thousands of its cadres have defied the British rule, and many have sacrificed their life. If at all, any movement has to be remembered for the freedom of this country, I would say without fear of contradiction, it is the communist movement and the trade union they built over the years. In fact, if you go to Andaman, the airport is named after Veer Savarkar. He was also in the jail. But there are many other people who are also in the jail. You all know, in 1930, in the armory raid in West Bengal, 63 students were arrested in 1930. The leader of the movement, for leading that movement was Surya Sen, who was hanged by the British. There was also another Ganesh Ghosh, who was accused number 2, who spent 42 years in Andaman jail. And there was also a girl, there were 3 girls, college girls. One was Kalpana Dutt. I mean, many people in Tamil Nadu name their daughters as Kalpana. It's only because of that Kalpana. If at all you want to have any bravery or sacrifice, then you should have said Surya Sen Airport. When you say Veer, doesn't mean it adds to the heroism, because we should also now understand that history being rewritten in such a fashion, the original history is being lost and the new history being then. I will not elaborate on that. I will tell you only one thing, that this Nagpur given birth to 3 movements. As I told you, there is one movement which I mentioned. There's also the communist movement. There is also Ambedkarwads. I don't want to say much more. In 1927, in fact, only 3 more years shorter than for a centenary, when Ambedkar started the Sevadar tank entry movement, it was just to take a water from a public tank. He wanted to prove there are tanks otherwise also. You can go anywhere and collect water. But he made a point that in this tank, which is a public tank, why we can't have water? Are we not part of the humanity? Are we not part of the subjects of this country? This point, that non-discrimination and treating the human being as a human being, was the central point of Sarvadar water tank, that entry movement. The movement went for 8 days. The 9th day, Dr. Ambedkar did something unexpected. He took a copy of the Manusmriti and burned that copy. In 1927, the Manusmriti, or you may call Manu Dharma, I don't know what Dharma is left there, but Manusmriti was burned, and during that statement, the entire India was shocked because nobody expected. He said that I am doing this only as a symbolic gesture. Here is a Smriti which divides the people, not only as Savarnas, but even an Avarna, a non-descriptive community. There are 4 castes. Outside the caste, we are also having Avarnas. And then how does you justify this as a equity document? This was a question posed by him, and we'll be celebrating that. I am saying Manusmriti because few days back, you must be knowing, on 21st November 19 this year, there was a full-page advertisement. We are bringing 4 labor codes into operation. The big advertisement. I have never seen a parliamentary law which was enacted by the parliament, later notified by the government, being advertised in the papers, saying we are bringing a new 4 codes, 4 labor codes. 29 labor legislations have been subsumed into 4 codes. And then the 4 codes, the Code on Wages was enacted in 2019. The Industrial Relation Code was 2020. Code on Social Security 2020. After 5 years, you notify a legislation. No explanation why there was 5 years. And then they still say, one of the greatest achievement. What achievement, we do not know. Even the working class are yet to know what is the labor codes that have done. Now, in this critical hour, we now take the topic, we want to defend the Constitution, because that is the basis on which anything can be analyzed. In fact, one of the 2 significant provisions under the Constitution is Article 13, under which every legislation can be tested, whether it violates fundamental rights or not. Not only the pre-British laws, not only the independent laws, any law that is to be made, not only the legislation, any order, rule, notification can be tested, whether it satisfies the fundamental right or not. This is one question. Article 13 is one of the very significant provisions of the Constitution. There is another article, Article 32, which is also part of the fundamental rights, where any individual, any citizen of this country can move the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is most powerful institution in India, and it gives the power even to an individual, not necessarily a group or a class or a union. Even an individual can knock the doors of the Supreme Court and say, where is my fundamental right? And Dr. Ambedkar, on introducing Article 32, said, this is the heart and soul of the Indian Constitution. And therefore, when we discuss Article 13 and 32, the first question comes, why do we need to defend this Constitution at this hour? This question comes, and this question has to be answered more than one ways. What is the law before, and what is the law now? What is the working class has done in this country, which can very proudly say that these legislations were the historic sacrifice made by the working class. In fact, when I started this lecture, I only said greetings to you. Normally, in all our workers' meeting, we'll say, Inqulab Salam, Inqulab Zindabad. I am now afraid to say that because what the judges will say when I say Inqulab Zindabad. I am not joking because everybody can see this constitution doesn't belong to only lawyers and judges. Since Rahul Gandhi started showing this constitution in public places, and then people start wondering what is this small book, a red book. In fact, to your surprise, this book printed by Eastern Book Company now claims they have sold 200,000 copies of this book. It's not only meant for lawyers or judges or for litigants, common people, because it has come to a center stage when Rahul Gandhi says, this is the DNA of our people. Even I saw the other day in Bihar elections, women, agriculture women were clapping when he showed the book. Do you mean to say that people doesn't know this? People doesn't know the Constitution? You may know one thing, Constitution is not a document only reserved for the people who are educated. It is also a weapon in the hands of the ordinary people. When this Constitution, when we say what is the need to defend the Constitution, I only take today the example from the workers' side. I am not going into the larger issue. I will only tell you some simple example how the court is treated. I told you the power vests with the court. It is not what is written in the Constitution. It is what the judges say, that's a Constitution. And therefore, all the more reason, what the judges say is more important. And the working class has learned in the last 75 years many, many lessons from the court. In fact, I have written a small booklet which they have also circulated. I have reviewed the 75 years of the working of the Supreme Court in terms of labor law, and you could go through the document. I am not repeating that. Even in today's paper, I have presented a prepared paper which I have given to them. I am sure they will circulate the paper. I am not going to read that, but at the same time, there are some points to be highlighted. When we talk about the trade union, today we are sitting in Parwana Bhavan, and Parwana is a leader of the AIBEA, and AIBEA is a premier institution of the bank employees, and AIBEA is started by AITUC, which is the first trade union federation in India. Anything today you refer to AITUC because they are the one who set the agenda for the working class. And when AITUC not only fought for the working class, but also fought for the freedom of this country. In fact, the first resolution for Purna Swaraj is passed by the unions, not by Congress party. It is the workers' parties which said we need to have a complete independence from the British. And therefore, the politics of the independence struggle and the trade union movement are inseparable. And therefore, trade unions can very, very proudly claim that today India is free, it's only because of them and not any other reasons. And they did not only fight for their economic right, they also fought for a political right. And when they were fighting for a political rights, not just 1 or 2 years, over a period of a century, nearly a century, now the question came, when the British was ruling us, are there not unions in Britain? In fact, there was a Labour Party which was ruling for substantial time. They had number of labor laws in Britain, not a single law in India. And the working class demanded that we need some legislation to protect that we are not being exploited. And therefore, what the British did was nothing. They were waiting for the war to be over. And First World was over. What did they do? They made India a member of the ILO. India was only a colony, not a free country. It was a British subject. Britain is a member of the Union, I can understand. British India also made as a part of the International Labour Organization, ILO. The result was the ILO was passing several resolutions and conventions, how timing should be there, what are the factory regulations, what are the night shift arrangements, all that is there. And therefore, they were also conscious that they were exploiting Indian working class, but doing nothing about any regulatory laws. And when the British Parliament members raised this issue in the British Parliament, all that they did was send a royal commission to India. In 1929, a royal commission came, saw all over the place. Here they even came to Nagpur, went to the tea gardens of Assam, went to the mines in the Chota Nagpur region. They went everywhere. Finally, when they went back, they never told the British government, it's high time you bring some legislation. The Indian working class cannot be exploited by you, therefore bring some regulatory laws. As usual, the British never wanted that. All that the commission recommended was, you strengthen the working class, make them to form association, and guarantee their right to bargain a better deal. In essence, what the commission said was, let them have an association, let them also have guarantee for a collective bargaining. These are the only solution, or if at all, a medicine they suggested for Indian working class. In 1930, it went off. We never had any labor laws except some small regulatory laws. It's only after independence we started having some legislations, and the premier one was the Industrial Disputes Act. And the Industrial Disputes Act is for what purpose? To settle and investigate and settle industrial dispute. All right, how do you settle it? You negotiate. There may be a settlement. No settlement, send it to the court. What about the collective bargaining? What about the right to strike? No right to strike. There can never be a legal strike under the Indian labor laws. Many people may understand why are the people having illegal strike. Every strike in India is an illegal strike. And therefore, let us not fool ourselves. No, we must go on a legal strike. There is nothing like a legal strike, because the first labor law said, go for talks. Failing talks, go to the court. All right. First time, I remember, the bank employees went to the court. The first award, we call it award, we don't call it the judgment. We call it as an award. That's why there are bank employees call themselves award staff. The award, the Sen award, was in favor of workers. In fact, if you read Parwana's history, you may know more about the Sen award, how much effort they took to get the award. The award was quashed by the Supreme Court on a very narrow ground. The tribunal consists of 3 members. One member was also a member of the Boundary Commission. In 1956, all the states were reorganized as a linguistic state, and therefore one member of the tribunal was also attending to those boundary dispute hearings. He was missing for some hearing. Substantially, he was present during the hearing. For few hearing, he was not there. That was only arguments. They can always get arguments from the other 2 members. But the Supreme Court quashed the Sen award on the short ground. Of the 3 members, 1 member was missing in few of the session, therefore award quashed. The result was, some of the bank management started reducing the wages, because pending the award, they gave some increment, and they want to withdraw it. In fact, Parwana was victimized because of the struggle. They went against, you cannot reduce our wages, whatever may be the consequences. And he got dismissed. And then he did, after several years, they were mentioning about Punjab National Bank case, which came in 1958, after 8 years after our constitution, where they said, if there is an illegal dismissal, reinstatement is the only method. The fact that you might have recruited some people in between is not enough. The people originally dismissed must come back to work. But Parwana did not go back to bank employee. He would have become an officer. He would have got several emoluments. But he came back to the union. And today, the trade union is richer because of many of the people who were victimized became the leaders of the union. I am also saying this because under the Trade Union Act, it is also outsiders are permitted to be a leader of the trade union. This was the 1925 legislation. But today some judges don't understand. Recently, in some few years back in Madras High Court, in the bank, Indian Overseas Bank, A judge wrote an order. Outsiders should not be office bearers. Which constitution that he read, we do not know. In fact, I wrote an article. Mr. Judge, please read the Indian Constitution. Under Article 19(1)(c), right to form an association is a fundamental right. And how do you say that they cannot have an association? And even during the British time, outsiders were also become office bearers. In fact, in Madras, number of lawyers, Mohan Kumaramangalam, V.G. Rao, Venkatraman, there are 101 other lawyers were office bearers of association, and that led to a better bargaining with employers. In many of the unions, the union members may not have much formal education, and therefore a leadership is very much important for a trade union. And to say, don't have outsiders, mean you have not understood the Constitution. Secondly, your own motive, you don't even read the constitutional history. Our problem is, we have never gone and tell our others how much sacrifice that we have made. Many people think the bank employees, LIC employees, or the insurance employees, high-wage islands, they are just coming only for work and do nothing. They don't understand the significance of the working class struggle. And the first lesson that we should understand is to imbibe the constitutional spirit, and that will come slowly on the mind of the judges, because without the judges, how do you get any order? You may win an order in a labor court, you may win an order in the High Court, and then how do you sustain an order in the Supreme Court? You need to educate, and don't think the judges are already knew everything. And they have a lot of muck in their mind, and you will have to disabuse those wrong ideas. Otherwise, what will they do? I remember in 1975, one judge wrote, don't think working class is weak. They are the most strongest section in the world. And he goes to the American trade union and says, the American trade union bosses, the American industrialists used to wait in their offices to have an appointment. All these, where do you get all this? It's only because they have been wrongly tutored, wrongly understood, wrongly learned lessons in their law college, and wrongly carried this message. And therefore, in my submission, the first submission I want to make, when the Constitution was drafted, on the drafting of the Constitution in 1946, when the Constitutional Assembly was formed, after the India's interim government has been allowed to form, the Constitutional Assembly, as you all know, was not a very representative body. Everybody cannot vote. The Constitutional Assembly was elected by 13% people who had the right to vote. It did not represent the wider sections. It had representatives of the princely state. It also had representatives of several other categories. Now in the Constitutional Assembly, when it is actually being drafted, Dr. Ambedkar was selected as the chairman of the drafting committee. All right, no problem. What was the socialist, what was the communist role during the Constitution? One is the communists were already in jail, and socialists never won the election. And what happened was, Dr. Ambedkar, during the debate in the Constitutional Assembly, said that the socialists are not here because they want all the industry to be nationalized. The communists do not believe in democracy, and they are not there. Having said that, he also said one more thing. He said that it is a duty upon us to decide what should be the model of this country. And you all know the fundamental rights chapter in part 3. And part 3 is more important because it guarantees equality before law, which equality was missing before. It also guaranteed non-discrimination. Under Article 15, the state shall not discriminate on grounds of religion, on grounds of caste, on grounds of birth, on grounds of language, on grounds of descent, on grounds of race. It will not discriminate. Article 15, there was a film also 3-4 years back with the same name. Article 15, I don't know how many of you seen the film. The director was asked, there are 395 articles, why you put only 15? He said that's the soul of the Indian Constitution. Because the first time in 20 centuries, a state openly said that I will not discriminate one of you. Either in the public service, Article 16, there is an untouchability abolished, Article 17, there is a serfdom, bondage labor abolished in Article 23, and there is also child labor abolished in Article 24. Now when you see the string of these articles, made as a fundamental right, first dent on the Indian society was, these are the articles which completely removed the farmer perspective of an Indian state. In fact, recently, there is a judgment of the Supreme Court. I wish all of you should read. The name of the case is Sukanya Santa versus Union of India. In 2024, that judgment was given in November, and Justice Chandru wrote the order. One of the very significant phrase that they've used was that after the enactment of Article 15, India is ushered in a social justice form, and hitherto the hierarchical society has been dismantled. In essence, it has been described by saying, in essence, Manu has been buried and social justice has taken the place. It's not my statement, it's a statement of the Supreme Court. And when Manu has been buried, in the sense, you cannot have a caste justice. You cannot have a justice based on caste. You have a justice which will be a broad-based justice. Now I am asking a very simple question. When we say that Manu has no place, and there is a new ushering of social justice under the Part 3 of the Constitution, recently the central government released a labor policy, not only these four codes. You read that policy, the policy quotes from Manusmriti. There was some belief that Manu was only a division of labor. Division of labor has been stratified into caste, all right? Into caste it has become. Can you now convert yourself into one caste to other caste? As a Shudra, can I become a Brahmin? As a Vaishya, can I become a Kshatriya? You know the case of Shivaji Maharaj, who wanted to become a Chhatrapati, and they refused to anoint him as an emperor, as a Chhatrapati. No Brahmin was allowed to do that ceremony. They went all the way to Sarayu. They got hold of some Sarayu Brahmins from Ayodhya, and they came and performed. They said, Chhatrapati is not a Kshatriya, therefore he can't become a Chhatrapati. That's how the caste dharma pays. And Shivaji defied it by saying, the Sarayu Brahmins were brought from Ayodhya. Even today, the Sarayu Brahmins of the South Bank are considered untouchable, because the other side Brahmins said, you perform something wrong ceremony. There is no caste conversion ceremony in India. Caste is a stratification. Caste is a compartmentalization. And therefore, there is nothing like having a caste and then say Manusmriti. Now, how does the central government, in a labor policy, now talks about Manusmriti being inspiration for the labor policy? A smriti, a dharma, which the working class of this country has always ignored. The working class never accede. We have no boundaries. We have no language. We have no religion. The working class of the world unite. You have nothing to lose except the chain. That's the greatest saying of the Karl Marx. And therefore, how do we accept this labor policy? All the opposition MPs said, throw this policy out. Where does the Manu comes into this? This one question will always come in. In fact, Ambedkar has written a very strong note on this issue. You all know Ramayana. Now, after Ram Mandir, more and more Ramayana is coming. There is a story of Shambhugan. Shambhugan comes from a depressed class. He learned Vedas, which he is prohibited from learning. And then what is the punishment? If you learn something, if you hear which you should not hear, they'll pour a molten lead on your ears. If you learn something which you are prohibited, you will be beheaded, you will be finished off. And then Shambhugan was brought to Rama's court, and Rama gives him death sentence. Many people said, Rama is such a great man. Even Muslims say, Maryada Purusha Rama. And then why can't he show some leniency? A lot of people ask this question. If Rama is such a great person, he could have forgiven Shambhugan. Dr. Ambedkar writes in his Annihilation of Caste an explanation. He says, don't blame Rama. Rama is a Kshatriya king. He has to administer justice according to law. The law is Manusmriti, and the caste justice. If a caste cannot perform a duty, and then the punishment is given by Manusmriti, and therefore Rama has administered a Manu Dharma. And then if you want to blame Manu, not Rama, he says, because as a king, he only implements the laws. Now this is the explanation. Now when we are all saying so much against caste, against compartmentalization, against caste being a discrimination, you know, many people may not know, even the textile mills in Bombay. Bombay is considered the Manchester even in textile mill, in some of the sections, scheduled castes are not allowed. In weaving section, they were not allowed for a long time. This was raised in the Paris Convention of the ILO. The Indian representative raised the issue that these textile owners are not permitting scheduled caste laborers in the weaving section. The reason is very simple. When the weaving mill is working, the weaving machines, the thread gets sometimes cut off. And then what the worker do is they take the tongue, the saliva and put it there, then it goes around. And then now the worker may likely to use his saliva in the yarn, and therefore scheduled castes are prohibited from coming to the section. And for a long time in the textile mill, in the weaving section, scheduled caste workers are not allowed. This was raised in ILO. And therefore, where do we go? We told the central government, where does this Manusmriti come into the labor policy? We don't think that such a policy can ever be evolved. And government has not given any answer. And therefore, the first question comes that the right to form an association derives from this constitution. And therefore, we get a right and form a union. Even earlier, we had trade union, but we did not have a constitutional status. And therefore, the constitution gives the backing. Despite the constitutional backing, Mr. V.G. Rao, a leading barrister, a leading labor lawyer, who was also a leader of the Reserve Bank employees, he had a small association, People's Educational Society, that was banned as an unlawful association under 1908 Criminal Law Amendment Act. British did not ban. The Congress Party banned in 1950. And V.G. Rao, as expected, went to the court. That was the first constitutional case. Can you ban an organization as an unlawful association? What is the criteria? Then what is the meaning of your 19(1)(c)? 19(1)(c) talks about right to form an association as a fundamental right. And the Madras High Court held in favor of V.G. Rao. The state of Madras went to Supreme Court dismissed that case. That became the first constitutional case on the right to form an association. Today we have a AIBEA. Today we have a Bank Employees Union. Today we have AITC as a federation. All that because there is a constitutional backing. And therefore, the first lesson that we need to defend this constitution arises because this constitution, they recognize the right to form an association. We have formed an association. What do you do next? This question. Can I participate in trade union activity? Will not the employer find fault? Will not the employer tell me, either you be here or go to your union office? Go to Parwana Bhavan. This happened in 1958. A railway union leader, Mr. Balakotaya, he was sacked on the ground that he was a member of the trade union, Dakshin Railway Employees Union. He was a member, he was sacked. He went to the court. He said, I have a right to form an association. The Supreme Court, unfortunately, in 1959, took the stand. Either you be in the union or be in the railway. You can't be both. Now, this is the first setback that we could think of, that the court started making a slide back. Having recognized the right to form an association, now how do you say that you keep in the association but be outside? Don't be in our employment. Now this question got slightly changed in 1962 in the Kameshwar Prasad case in Bihar. Supreme Court said a government servant has got a right, a fundamental right, subject to other rules. All right, now we got back something back. Now the next question is, what do I do with the union if I don't have a right to collective bargaining? Should I not go and bargain? Should I not go and demand something more? Now this question comes, merely having a letterhead, union president, if the management doesn't respect, what happens? Management doesn't call me for talk, what happens? There must be a corresponding benefit or a right flowing from the right. What is called a bundle of right. Each part of the constitution is not a compartment. It's a connected document, it's a connected string. This was the argument. But the Supreme Court said, in a case filed by AIBEA, you may have a union, you may have membership, but you do not have any corresponding right to work as a union. Now, this is something strange. In 1962, we are back to square one. It looks as if the British days are much better than the constitutional days. It became like that. And slowly, then we have our own voice can shout more and more slogans, more and more demonstration. Even further, there is a check. In 1965, Supreme Court said, you can't shout slogans, you can't have meeting in the workplace. Then where do you go? Sit at home or work from home and then shout from home? Now this is something very strange. When I talk about a right to form an association, it should have a corresponding right to enforce that right. Do you look into this Industrial Disputes Act? What does it say? Go to the court. Beyond going to the court, there is another solution. Do you mean then our cases will be heard quickly? There is no guarantee. Now then, where do you go? The British Royal Commission said, right to form an association, right to make collective bargaining is an essential right. Now your Industrial Dispute Act does not recognize that. Your Supreme Court does not recognize that. Now where do you go from here? Now this is something, whatever the gains, whatever the rights that we won over the period, now this slowly we are losing one by one. And therefore, today the AIBEA doesn't believe in this kind of a litigation, in this kind of a legal redressal. We go for a direct bargaining and you have a bipartite settlement. A bipartite settlement is a settlement between the employer and the worker, which is much more than you are going to court and wait for hundreds of years. And therefore, the bank union slowly also learned their constitutional lesson of avoiding going to the court. It's a real worker strength that alone can win freedom. Now, despite all this, we have a sliding back. We have outsourcing. Bank employees know every job, watch and ward, sweepers, or messengers, or gold appraisers, or canteen workers, everything is outsourced. You go to some other industry, 80% of the labor are only contract labor. Now, what does these outsourced labor, what do they gain out of these laws? We gain so many laws. In fact, 29 laws have become 4 laws today. These 29 legislations brought over the period by various sections of the people demanding certain regulation to govern their service condition. Now all that is thought to be dismantled. And comes the LPG time. LPG does not mean Ujjwala, liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Now this economy is now turned towards a rightist path, where again we have another problem. And before that, I must tell you that the bank employees did have a contribution to the constitutional amendment. When 14 banks were nationalized, when they were owned by the monopoly houses, which were using public fund for their own private enrichment, Mrs. Indira Gandhi nationalized 14 banks by a parliamentary law. The parliamentary law was challenged by the Union Bank, owned by the Birlas, the RC, owned by the Tatas. The RC Cooper case, Supreme Court said bank nationalization is illegal. You have not given a proper compensation to them. They have collected public money, then what compensation to the private owners, we do not know. Now that led to a constitutional amendment, 24th Amendment. If you have time, kindly read the constitutional debate in the Parliament. 24th Amendment, almost every left movement, the AITC, CPI, everybody raised that issue that if the Constitution do not subserve the larger interests of the public, including the interests of the working class, you should make amendment. The amendment are possible. Article 338 provides for amendment of the Constitution. There is no bar in passing. Today, we have got 106 amendments have been made in the Constitution. Now, the first amendment to justify the bank nationalization was effected only because of the working class stoutly defending the nationalization, and therefore the 24th Amendment itself says in its preamble that it is to get over the block raised by the Supreme Court in R.C. Cooper's case. And therefore, we should very proudly say that whenever our rights are being taken away, we went and defended in the Parliament. We also got an amendment made. We also got the amendment approved by the Supreme Court subsequently. And therefore, this constitution, more than any other constitution, you go to Pakistan, you go to Bangladesh, you go to Nepal, you go to Sri Lanka, they also had a constitution, but it is all withering. It did not have leg to stand. We have a martial law. In fact, 2 judges of the Pakistan Supreme Court resigned last month. Reason is, they said martial law, we don't want the Supreme Court, we'll have a court of appeal. While you are the Supreme Court, the army said, we'll have another appeal court. You be the appeal court. They said, we can't be in this judiciary. Such thing never happened in our country only because the working class stood united. The working class parties were bravely putting up a fight in the parliament and were able to get not only the 24th amendment, there are several amendments subsequently which strengthen the action of work. At the same time, without any discussion, without any argument, without any legislation, the government takes a policy of economic policy of rooting this country to a different direction. Then came the mass disaster. Now you can't challenge disinvestment. You can't challenge denationalization. All policy matters. Which policy? We do not know. And therefore, we have a greater duty to perform today than before. It is not merely our working conditions. It is not merely our own wage issues. It is also the larger issue of defending the rights gained over the period. Now, if you want to fight today, you also have to discuss the economy of this country. You got to discuss the politics of this country. You can't say, we'll have a union, we'll go to court, we'll have a bipartite settlement. This issue can't be solved by a bipartite settlement. It has to be solved in the streets. And therefore, this further question comes, why should we defend this constitution? We continue to go to the court, to continue to attack some of these issues. Now the court says, no, we will not have. Now what did the court say on the privatization? What the court say on the globalization? What the court say on liberalization? One judge says, when we go to the airport, there is a bar, there is a pub. Is that the gain in this country of liberalization? I'm asking you a question. Working class should not go to work and come back and then be happy about their wage. They should also discuss the larger issue. That is why we keep on saying this should be our rule book. This should be our, like an umpire. If you commit a foul, we'll show you the rule book. And that is continue to happen. And this happens in our court. In fact, it's a continuous struggle. You will find recently, under Article 39B, there was a discussion whether material resource mean only public resource. When you want to put a road, when you want to put a highway, or when you put a public building, you also take the private property and give compensation. Now the question came, Article 39B talks about the material resources of this country shall be used for a common good. Now the material resources mean, is it only public property or includes private property? Justice Krishna Iyer has given a judgment long back. Justice Chandru followed the same thing in Sanjeev Kaul case. Now 9 judges are saying, Krishna Iyer and Chandru are all leftist. No use, all this economy is all gone. Now we have a ushering in a new economy. Material resource mean only public resource. That means once again we are going back to the pre-nationalization days. The same thing was said in R.C. Cooper case. You cannot nationalize. You can't give illusory compensation. The same thing now 9 judges are saying after how many years? From 67 to 2004. There's one judge who are very brave within that 9 judge, Sudhanshu Dolia. He said that we have a constituency, namely the people. We have a manifesto, namely the constitution. We cannot ignore and then take a different stand. Our constitution talks about a socialist democratic republic. When you say socialist republic, what is the meaning of socialism? If you read the part 4 of the constitution, it only bristles with several socialist ideas. Right to work, right to living wage, right to disablement, right to retired life. Everything is mentioned in Article 4, Part 4, and it mandates the Parliament to make a law. And if you say that we have a socialist charter, and the court refuses to implement the charter and takes a part away from the public policy, now what do you say about that? Are you not concerned about how the courts are working, how the judges are working, how the judges are able to interpret a constitution contrary to the constitution? When we take the office of the judgeship, we first say, without fear or favor, without ill will, to the best of my knowledge, I'll uphold the constitution. Are you upholding the constitution? Where is the socialist preamble? There's one judge who writes, socialism is all catchword. It means different things to different people. This is an easy way to ignore the constitution. Now therefore, today in the teeth of nationalized bank become privatized bank, increased outsourcing in our own industry, dismantling all the gains that have been obtained over the years, and making the labor laws more and more irrelevant. If the labor laws which are gained over 100 years are applied only to 20% of the working class, 80% of the working class staying outside, then what kind of a labor movement that we are talking about? It is in this background, I appeal to you that we will have to defend the Constitution. From whom? From all concerned, not only the people who try to sabotage the Constitution, even people who try to interpret the Constitution contrary to the interest. I gave you the example, the 24th Amendment was a victory for the working class because the Supreme Court said nationalization is wrong. Parliament was made to say your judgment is wrong. Are we having the same power? Are we having the same voice today to tell the court, don't ever change the constitutional spirit? There is something called constitutional morality. The word used even in the Constitutional Assembly debates. What is constitutional morality? You work according to the Constitution. You don't deviate. And it is in that sense, more than ever, that it is a time to defend our Constitution. Not just in our banking circle, not just in our industrial establishment, but in the larger context of taking the issue to the people. It is ultimately the people who will decide what kind of a constitution that we require. And there is one small gain. In the Keshavananda Bharati's case, 13 judges have laid, you can amend the constitution, you can amend the fundamental right, you cannot amend the basic structure of the constitution. What is basic structure? Preamble, the right to judicial review, the right to have a republican democracy, the right to secularism, the socialism in the preamble. These are all basic sector. They have not listed out the entire thing, but one thing is, it's a gain in the larger sense that certain issues are not compromisable. Certain issues cannot be compromised, and therefore we are in a greater position to demand that go by the Constitution. It is in that sense, I think this oration was named as the oration, the need to defend the Constitution at this hour. The word at this hour is greater because if you sleep, there may be something else, because there are slogans are today, one nation, one election, then there will be one leader also. Slowly there will be one food also, one language already it's been there, and therefore, more than before, that the need to defend the Constitution has come, and the working class, like the pre-independence days, the working class, like which is fought for the political freedom of this country, has to be the backbone for defending the Constitution of this country, not only from the vested interests, but also from the judges themselves. Because I started by saying, I am afraid to say, Inqilab Zila. You may say, why? Read the Delhi High Court judgment. In Umar Khalid, a JNU student leader, who was accused of Delhi riots, in one of the speeches he has said, Inqilab Zindabad. And the Delhi judges are analyzing, two judges are analyzing, this is not very innocent slogan. It's very seditious. It is similar to the French Revolution, the Robespierre slogans of freedom, liberty, and fraternity is related to that. Therefore, we will not have bail. Last 5 years, he has not got bail. Only last week, they gave bail for 2 weeks because to attend some sister's wedding. A man, a student, 5 years in jail, not given charge sheet, not know why he is been inside, several times bail refused, and one such time, the court say, Inqilab Zindabad is not a very innocent slogan. Which slogan we have been shouting, not today, last 100 years. Not only in the leftist meetings, Congress meeting, they also say the same thing. BMS meeting, they also say Inqilab Zindabad. You go to Bangalore, Kranti Sankaya Ramaya station. Kranti Sangoli means revolutionary leader. You go to Central Station, Madras, revolutionary leader MG Ramachandran station. What is the revolution? Merely because I say Inqilab, it will become there will be Inqilab in this country. How does two judges say no bail because you have shouted? It's not only in the question of bail. Last month, Marxist Party had a demonstration in Azad Maidan in Bombay. They asked for Bombay High Court. The commissioner banned the meeting. The meeting is to condemn Palestinian being aggressed by the Israel. That's only meeting. Now judges are writing, why do you go that far to Palestine? There are so many issues in this country. Does the judges know it is a Communist Party, it's the trade unions which are fighting for every issue in this country? Whether it's a local issue, national issue, or international issue. We have no boundaries. If Palestine is being aggressed, we will fight for that. In the 70s, when we were all students, we were fighting for Vietnam. There's a slogan, Hamara naam, tumhara naam, sabko naam, Vietnam. How do we say? Vietnam is a very small country, we could have ignored. But there is an aggression by a greatest imperialist country. We must question that. And how does the judges say, why don't you fight for local issues? As if Communist Party never fight for local issues. Does he not know every other day we are having some dharna or some meeting? We are known for fighting for the common people meeting. And the judges say don't fight. Now this is something slowly increasing. It is because we are not able to flex our muscles. We are not able to show our unity. In fact, when you go out, you will see a slogan. That's why they have written on the exit gate, there is no alternative for unity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Justice Chandru sir. You have touched for 45 minutes a lot of issues pertaining to the national level, regional level, comprising not only to the public at large, but for the ancient period from 1927. Even you have touched for the nationalization of the banks and privatization of the bank and reforms that have been brought to the 4 reforms now from the 49 reforms. We are very thankful to you. With these words, I invite Comrade Suresh Bobate, General Secretary of Eastern Maharashtra Bank Employees Association and our trustee to propose the vote of thanks. Comrade Suresh Bobate.
Today's chief guest, Comrade K. Chandru, General Secretary, AIBEA, my fellow trustees, ladies and gentlemen. In 45 minutes, chief guest has tried to touch majority of the issues that we face with, especially issues at Nagpur. He referred to RSS, Ambedkarian thought, communism too. Here in Nagpur, unity in diversity. Constitution, what way we can defend the Constitution? The word defending comes only when there are problems. There were problems, there are problems, and there will be problems. Constitution cannot be amended. Supreme Court, there are various Supreme Court judgments I support. The structure and the features of the Constitution. And what is the structure that is given in the preamble? And what is the preamble? We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into sovereign, social, secular, democratic republic, and to secure to all its citizens. Here comes the 4 pillars. That justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. With this and the part 3 fundamental right and the part 4 directive principle of the state policy, if these are retained, if government tries to dilute or amend certain sections which affects general masses, then we have to come in street that have been taught to us by our unions, associations, and Nagpur is not lagging behind. Whenever such steps is taken by the government, we come on street and show our anger to them. Constitution, somewhere I read that it's a book. It gives us a structure of the government, power of the institution, and right of the people. It's the lengthiest constitution, heaviest constitution, as rightly remarked by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. But since India was young those days, and the days were not proper, that constitution is required. He rightly said 106 times it has been amended. 106 times. Had constitution be, suppose it is personified, she can say, suppose I am constitution. I have been trampled upon several times. My wounds are not visible. but they make a deep cut in me. He has taken us to various chapters. Actually, time is short. We were expecting too much. We will think on another occasion to invite him again. But I thank him very much that out of his busy schedule, he give his consent to our CHV. I similarly thank CHV also that he brought a very good leader, judge, a philosopher also. I thank all the associations, unions, executives, leaders, and those who have attended today's function and have made it a grand success. I thank all those who help in making this function directly, indirectly a successful one. With this, I conclude, but there is an announcement that majority of the people here understands English well. We tried our level best to bring those only who understand English. Still, if some matter went tangential to them, then there is a written document that will be handed over to you. After this program, tea and biscuits serve at the next counter. And with this, I announce that this program is now over. Thank you very much.